Figure 4 Radio.
Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Lock it in.
Lock it in. Figure 4 Radio.
Hello, welcome to Figure 4 Radio. It's the Mastermind, Ollie Spring, and I'm honoured to be joined by the one and only SoCal Val.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. How are you?
I am great. You
Cool.
know, we're here at MK11,
We are.
and people are already filing in for our Royal Rumble party. We've got. How should we announce this guy? He's like a
With the best fancy dress I've ever seen.
Finn Balor version 2.
Well, I thought that was Finn, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought his shoulder looks a bit more normal though.
Yeah,
So,
his mobility's back. Apparently.
Yes, which is good.
Yeah.
Yes, so you are here in MK11 tonight. We are recording at the Royal Rumble. Of course, at the time of release, Rumble will have happened. So, man, what an event it was. Such a good Rumble.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't
My
believe
favorite part was when the guy went over the top
Yeah,
rope. Remember?
and that
It was
guy
like,
won.
what?
I couldn't
know.
believe that guy won.
I
It was
know.
immense.
That guy was the best.
So, yeah, it's an absolute honour to have you on. I've got so many things I'd love to talk to you about, so hopefully we've got enough time.
Thank you, of course.
Firstly, the first thing I really want to hear about, because I'm obviously a UK wrestling fan. You obviously discovered wrestling in the States.
Yes.
What was that like? Because we didn't have the same kind of exposure to it. It was like late night on Sky,
Right.
And if you didn't have Sky, you didn't watch wrestling, basically.
Right.
Whereas, what was it like for you growing up with and discovering wrestling?
It's funny because I don't really have anyone in my immediate family that would make sense for me to watch any sort of a
Same,
sport. I
same.
have two older sisters and my mom and one of my sisters, the middle sister, I'm the youngest. Her friend and they were watching it, and I remember thinking like, oh, that's so stupid. What are you guys watching? And I'm so girly that I was like, that's like a boys show. And you know, I was about 10 or I think 11 or so at the time. And then I just fell in love with the storylines. They watched strictly WWF. Now WWE, of course. I went back and watched WCW and ECW and things like that, but I was a strict WWF girl. And one maybe not so nice story I should tell is when I told Eric Bischoff, I said, I really didn't watch WCW. I turned it on once, I saw Chronic, and I was like, this is crap. And I turned it back and I never watched it again, and he thought that was the funniest thing, which thank God he took it in good stride.
Yes,
because
of course.
Yeah, so I was a WWF girl, and I started watching around maybe 2000 or so.
So you said the storylines we got you. Was there a specific one that kind of reeled you in?
I think it was more 98 now that I'm thinking of it, by the way. One in particular that I remember loving, I don't know if it's really what kept me watching. What kept me watching where I liked the girls and I liked Stephanie.
Of course,
I thought,
yeah.
well, she's, as I'm in a suit, very Stephanie-esque tonight. No, I'm not in costume.
Yeah.
I'm just myself
No,
as a
looking sharp
huge
as always.
fangirl of Stephanie McMahon. That's me every day. So I saw her and I remember thinking, wow, she's a real bitchy character, if I can use that word. And I thought, is she going to get her comeuppance? Like, she's always, such a brat. And then her storyline with Triple H and Kurt Angle, that love triangle was, I've told Kurt so many times, my absolute favorite. I loved it. I loved the, were they in that hotel room and Triple H is going to find out and he's mad now and he wants revenge, and it gave such credibility to these storylines. So that's what got me. I loved the love storylines. Yeah. And then I got to be in one, which we'll get to later. But how lucky is that?
That was us. So that was how you got into it. How did you get your break in TNA?
I had been doing shows. Let's see. So I did my first show 3 days after my 16th birthday,
and
it was in California.
As you weren't a wrestler.
No, you were manager. I was always a manager. Yeah. Any wrestling I ever did was just because maybe it made sense for a storyline at the time, or I really never enjoyed
that saves me a question
wrestling.
later on.
Yeah, I really, it was not my thing. I never wanted to be them either.
Yeah,
I never looked at the girls and thought, I want to be a Lita. I was never a Lita. I'm never going to be a Lita. Don't want to be a Lita. I wanted to be Stephanie. I wanted to be the girls. I wanted to be Dawn Marie, and Francine and people like that. Dawn Marie's a great one because I think people often... I find her very underrated because she had such in-ring presence and such charisma, and I love her. I didn't really want to be in wrestling, or I didn't want to be a wrestler in wrestling, but I knew I wanted to be in wrestling somehow, mainly as a manager.
It's kind of the same as me, I guess.
Yeah, so my first show was 3 days after my 16th birthday, and then I kept doing more and more independent shows. That was in Southern California, hence the name SoCal Val.
Of course.
I moved to Orlando, Florida, maybe not even a year later. I was a few months after my first show, actually, about maybe less than a year. And I started to do as many independent shows as I could. I did shows mainly for IPW and NWA Florida in Tampa. So I was driving, I wasn't driving. My mom would have to drive me, or one of the guys or something would take me up to these shows every weekend for like 3 years. And I just did as many shows as I could, got as much experience as I could. And then when TNA came into town, I went to all the shows with my little I remember my bag going through security at Universal. Wow. And I always had this big bag, and I had tapes and resumes with me just in case I could give it to someone. And I didn't ever really. Well, I think I gave it to a few people, but David Sahadi was a producer there, and he said, you know, maybe we could have you on board as a production assistant. That'll get your face seen backstage where you need to be seen. He knew I wasn't going to always be in production, but he knew that I was in it for the right reasons. He helped me with that. Then Jeremy Borash asked me to be a ring girl, and then from ring girl I got into a storyline, and then from then on, another person I should mention is Mike Weber, who was our VP of marketing, is now with Fight TV, and he also gave me more experiences with announcing and hosting, presenting, as you would call it.
Of course,
it kind of snowballed from there.
Just like that. So what was it like? I'm trying to think. So when did you start with TNA? What was
late 2004, officially. And that's like the first time I was on air.
So actually, I think you started just as I started watching it, if I remember right, if my timeline's right.
How good was it back then?
It was. Oh, it was
gosh.
immense. So. Okay, well, I'm going to skip a few of my questions. So, do you feel it's kind of gone downhill lately?
I can't say I have an educated opinion too much because I haven't watched it in quite a while. I did watch,
Same,
I believe it was it Bound for Glory? I watched one that was on Fight TV recently.
Okay.
And it still has the same sort of feel, but a lot of it's different because a lot of the guys are not there anymore. What really shocks me the most are the TNA originals and the guys that I envision as these TNA guys. A lot of them aren't there anymore. AJ is number one. Bobby Roode,
Joe,
all
Bobby,
these guys.
Yeah.
So
have you seen Takeover yet from last night?
I have.
Yes.
I saw it today.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit as well. So,
but it's great, but I can't say I've watched too much of it lately. Also, we don't even get it here anymore in the UK.
That's the problem, and I think for me, I haven't missed an episode of Impact since I started watching it, basically, since I discovered it. And now I can't really watch it without getting the app.
How sad is that?
I feel kind of bad that I don't want to pay to watch it.
I think people have a problem with that, and I think it's justified in the sense that you're not getting as much content as WWE Library.
Precisely, that's the thing. I'm happy to pay for the network because there's just so much on there.
Right.
But TNA...
I don't understand that either. If I was working there, I would say the same thing. It doesn't make much sense.
Okay. So we mentioned actually earlier the kind of the love triangle storyline.
Yes.
Legit, hand on heart, one of my favorite storylines in TNA ever.
No,
because it just stands out. Like you say, it's the storylines and the emotions that capture you. And I think it was such a strong storyline. With, of course, you're involved with Jay and Sonjay.
That's so nice to hear that. Thank you.
No, because it was. I mean, I've been there. I've had a girl that was stolen by someone else, and in fact,
you can relate, right?
Well, and I don't want to go into my story too much, but one of the reasons
that'll be the next episode. We'll do like a relationship session. We can do like
relationship counselling with SoCal Val. But the reason why I started watching wrestling, I was in a relationship. It went downhill. I was kind of asleep on the sofa for the best part of 2 or 3 months, and I was just flicking through TV channels, and it was Velvet Sky's backside that caught my eye, and I stopped flicking, and I started watching TNA. And if I hadn't have been sleeping on the sofa and watching stuff I wouldn't normally be allowed to watch,
right?
If that makes sense, I would never have got in. So I was in that mindset of I've just lost a girl to another guy. And I think it just caught me. I was like, wow, I'm cheering for. I'm tripping over my words now, but I'm cheering for the good guy to win because I know what it's like to have your girl stolen.
Yeah, and he was so great at that character, and he was so emotionally raw, and just because he is such a good guy. And I was honored to do it because being a fan of Miss Elizabeth, and I worked for Macho Man for a little bit back in the day. He had a federation up in Tampa that we worked for.
Okay.
Not a lot of people ever know about that.
Yeah, I didn't know
there weren't that many of us there. Steve Kern's school. We did MachoMan.com taping, so I was a fan, and I loved Miss Elizabeth. I loved that I got to play one of the characters that's the most beloved by fans. She was the original damsel in distress, and that was again not wanting to be a wrestler. I wanted to be that girl that was kind of fought over or damsel in distress, and she was uber feminine. I loved that.
And I guess you got your dream.
I did. And again, loving love triangles. How cool that I got to be in a romantic storyline. I could have been in any storyline, but how cool I got to be Miss Elizabeth-esque kind of a character in a love triangle.
Next to Jay Lethal, who's kind of pretending to be Macho Man.
Right.
And
once they realized I could cry, that's just all I did every show. P.S.
So obviously that storyline just worked so well, and Sonjay and Jay Lethal, they're not big guys; they're X Division guys.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think of late the smaller guys, they often struggle to get good storylines.
Right.
It's just go in there, do some flippy stuff, and the crowd aren't really invested because there's no characters.
Right.
What was it about that storyline that was it just worked for you?
To be honest, if I can put it in sort of crude terms, they really wanted and appreciated the storyline.
Yeah.
And I think someone was asking me recently about, well, how do you manage a wrestler that doesn't really that you don't click with? And I said, well, it happens a lot of times when you're thrown together with this wrestler.
Yeah.
With me, every time I went to an independent show, I could pretty much peg who I was going to be paired with because they always put me with the young, cute guy. Like, oh, well, you guys are young and you're cute together, and you're with the pretty boy always. And my friend David Babylon was a wrestler back in the day, and he was when I met him, I'm like, I know they're gonna pair me with him because he's sort of a cool, like, young, cute kid. And it was like I was so young.
Would you put Jay Lethal as the cute guy?
I would, but here's why I mentioned that is because when you are thrown together with certain wrestlers, whether just because they're the cute guy or it makes sense or they think that they look good, you look good together with this person. I don't think these people realize like that they were doing it. So, yeah.
I'm sure we'll get away with it.
Sorry about that, fans. So I think that when you're thrown with a wrestler that doesn't really particularly want it, they don't want a manager, they're kind of Jay Lethal and Sanjay not only wanted and liked and appreciated and thought the storyline was so cool, but they really were great with managers. They gave me time. They wanted me to shine as well. That's really rare. And for guys that young, they don't always have that great of an attitude. And these two really did. I think that's why it worked.
And I guess so like their heart was in it, like I guess in
exactly.
that respect. So I'm guessing then that must be that translates over to TV, I guess, if their heart isn't in it. That's probably why I'm not so invested.
And that's why you're feeling it, because, I think that's so true.
Yeah.
It's like an actor in a way. It's like, how good of an actor are you? Well, you have to convince me that you're believable, and that's exactly what the storyline did.
If you don't believe it, then no one else can.
Why would I believe it? Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, what do you think is the problem with... Because obviously that works so well. I can't think of many X Division style storylines that have ever gotten over as much as that one did.
That's so nice.
Can you think of any other... I struggle to think. I mean, obviously you
I'm
might
not
have
sure.
A better
I
memory
think
than me.
there were great feuds as far as X Division guys.
But as far as
like with Lotus and Machine Guns.
There wasn't a belt involved, was there? It wasn't just you're the champion, I want your belt.
No, and that's why it was so emotionally invested. It was so different.
You were the belt, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Definitely, yeah. Or that engagement ring on top of the ladder there. The pillow in the Ladder of Love match, which is so hilarious now looking back. when I describe this to my friend Raj, he always calls them civs. Like he says, "Oh, I'm dating a civ," meaning civilians. That's his word. It's a hilarious word that I always use. When I'm describing like what I do in wrestling, or like if somehow this storyline comes up to a civ, I'm like, you know how insane this sounds? I'm like, well, it was a love triangle and I was in a wedding dress with like a cream puff, and then they did a match where my engagement ring was on top of a silk pillow in this Ladder of Love match, and they had to win the ring and win me. It sounds insane, but it was so great.
But that's wrestling. I think wrestling has to be a little bit insane to be enjoyable, I guess.
Right.
So if there's not that level of crazy, then you're not going to get the enjoyment out of it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess. So why can't people book the smaller guys these days? Like, is there a stigma behind it that it's got to be a belt?
But I will say that a lot of that I think is to do with, I think a lot, it can be to do with creative. It can do with somebody doesn't think that the guys that are smaller have any place. There's still a lot of guys, mainly older guys, that still think that they have that stigma.
I guess if you look at the WWE these days, I'd almost say the bigger guys don't have a place anymore.
Right? Yeah.
To be honest.
I remember when Austin Aries was our champion. Like one of the guys came in and was like, "How is he your champion? He's so small." And we're like, "Have you ever seen Austin Aries wrestle? He's amazing."
Did you see him win against Bobby Roode? I jumped off my chair.
He's incredible.
It was insane.
Yeah, but I think it's also, and I don't know for sure, but I think it's a lot of factors. It's creative. A lot of it's timing. A lot of it is timing.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, again, having these guys, which are a credit to Jay Lethal and Sanjay, these guys that are just kind of willing to try anything in a storyline and believing it can work and then making it believable.
Yeah.
And if you have all those intangible factors, it can work, but clearly there's not enough of that going on right now.
Perhaps not. I say, so we've talked. Oh, well, you mentioned Austin Aries as well. We said earlier about obviously Joe and Bobby and everyone. What's it like? So obviously you've obviously been close to a whole bunch of these guys in TNA. Now to see them on WWE and in front of their size crowds and on like the global network. What's it like seeing those guys in over in that camp rather than in like our home camp?
It's amazing, and I get upset in the nicest of ways. Like I get so touched and teary-eyed. Like when I was at the Rumble last year where AJ debuted.
I don't think you'll have heard our podcast from here last year, but listeners, well, go to YouTube, find it. The pop out of me when AJ comes out was, so obviously as a TNA guy watching the Rumble, and holy shit, the TNA guy has just come out.
He is the TNA guy.
I lost my shit. I went absolutely nuts.
It was so amazing, and I'm thinking of it from a different way. I'm thinking, okay, as a wrestling fan, this is great, but my first thought is, oh my God, his little boys and little girl and his wife, they're watching at home. It's the best thing that could happen to that family. AJ deserves it. AJ is such a wonderful human being. And that to me was just like, that was his moment. I just thought all of these guys wanted to be in WWE. I mean, granted, they made TNA what it is, but at the same time, I'm not saying they were sitting there counting the days they could go to WWE, but you all hope to be on that big stage, and that's what we all get into.
You got to climb a ladder and you got to reach for the stars, and the WWE is where that is.
Right, and when these guys started, there wasn't a TNA, so that was their dream.
Yeah.
So when AJ debuted is a great example. I cried my eyes out, and I had heard rumors that he was going to debut, and I thought there's almost too many rumors. It's not going to happen. It's too predictable.
I don't pay attention to any of them. I hate rumors. I want to be surprised. I want to be.
Me too.
I want to have my breath taken away.
But I was surprised because I just thought it was way too predictable for him to be there because everyone thought he would be. And then I was thinking, my other thought was, oh my God, we're in Orlando, where all of these TNA fans that have supported him and me for years, they're seeing it in the perfect place. So it was just, it was wonderful. And to see Bobby, and Bobby was my number one pick to always go there. He's just such a WWE guy.
He walked in there and you just know, you knew that was where he was meant to be.
I think it's hard to decide between maybe him, AJ, Finn Balor, some of these guys. Bobby, I think, is probably maybe the greatest wrestler in the world. I think that highly of him as a performer and great on the mic, just great at everything. One of those guys.
He's a strong all-rounder.
So him, I'm super proud of. Joe, oh my gosh, he's just amazing at whatever he does. But in NXT, there's no one like Joe, and it's really cool to see him in NXT. And I don't know what we'll see from him after, but I'm hoping.
Might see him tonight.
All I care is maybe, but I just hope these guys are happy.
Yeah.
I know that WWE was a dream for them, and that just really touches my heart that they got to live that dream.
But what's your thought on Eric Young as well? Because he's another TNA original. I love the whole Sanity group.
I hadn't seen it until today. I had seen some pictures and gifs and things online, but not until today did I see the entrance. And I meaning to text him. I need to because and I know he'll understand what I mean, but because he knows me well. But like with those storylines, and if you're to look at it on paper, it could very easily come out as silly or not believable. But he's so good, and they've put so many great things. The music is great. It somehow is not silly at all. It works.
Oh no, 100%.
And it's very cool and very edgy, and because they do these sort of Wyatts or these sort of like edgy stables, and Wyatts work too, but a lot of times they don't.
Yeah.
And so with him, I was like, I hope this works. And I saw it today, and I was like, this is really cool. And it's really interesting.
And to say they've got Nikki Cross, who's Scottish. They've got Big Dame, Killian, I think his name is now. He's Irish.
And then the German guy.
There's such a. I don't know. WWE seems to be branching out. It's more global. There's British guys here. That you've got a lot of Aussie people. I recently watched the Australian tour, so I think they are starting to branch out and realize there's a strong wrestling community all around the world. It's not just their universe.
And the Australian girls are. I said to my friend Kate that was here today watching with me. I said, 13 or 14-year-old Val would have wanted to be those girls. I looked up to the girls, and even the ones that wrestled. I had to like some of the ones that wrestled, more of a manager type of fan, but I would have loved them. They're just so glamorous and so girly and sassy. I love them, so I was thrilled to see them doing well too. I don't know them at all, by the way. They're not friends of mine that I'm trying to push. I just think they're really cool.
No, they are. Yeah. I love the way I'm just going to text Eric Young later on. That just blows my mind. I
call him Ducky. I don't remember why, but I call him Ducky. They all have these weird names Jerry, they're like, oh yeah, I'm here with Jerry Bear. Like, you mean Jerry Lynn? I'm like, yeah, Jerry Bear, or Smo Joe Bear. I don't know.
This is a surreal night for me. So, what are you? You're still involved in the wrestling world, obviously. I mean, you're here for this. But I don't like to do the Wikipedia thing, but I had a little look just to see. Yeah. So Shine was the last thing that was mentioned.
Yes.
Is that something? Are you still involved with that?
No, only because I'm not there anymore. Okay. In the US, I was doing Evolve. I was doing Shine. Those were kind of my last, not last ever, as I'm out of it or anything. But those were the last consistent shows I was doing. I do independent shows all the time. I do signings all the time and random. Hey, can you announce for us? And I'll go do it. But as far as consistency, Shine Wrestling, I had a stable there called California.
I was going to ask about it because I remember reading a little while ago because there's a few names I mentioned on a headline. I started reading. I was like, oh, cool. So Val's here now.
Yeah, definitely. And then Amazon Andrea, who they'll probably name her something else. She was just signed to WWE. She's one of my best friends. Cool. She was amazing. She was kind of my Nash bodyguard character, and I was just I was in suits and glasses, and I was my sassy California character. And same thing with Evolve. I had Tony Nese and Caleb Conley as my Premier Athlete brand, but I always had Andrea as my bodyguard as well. So they're doing amazing too. So
you've got Tony Nese, but then someone else is the bodyguard. That makes me laugh.
He was just our body guy, and then we had and Andrea was just more of a badass than anybody. She was. Wait till she gets in NXT. It's amazing. Wait till she debuts, I should say, because I don't think she's been on television yet. But if you haven't looked her up, it's at Amazon_Andrea on Twitter. She's doing amazing things.
I shall have a look.
But so those were my consistent places, and Gabe and Sal, who are involved with WWN and with Shine, they were booking me when I was around 16 or 17, and they were booking me in these shows and letting me cut 6 promos a night. They so believed in me when I was young and let me talk, and they were so impressed with how I talked that it's so cool that after all those years, I mean, I was working for FIP, which was around like, I don't know, 2003, and then I came back in like 2015, and it's just so neat that they still believed in me. So those are the last shows that I was doing consistently. Then of course I moved here, and what I mainly do, everyone's kind of like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, my main job is Fight TV. So it's FITE, it's an app.
And you're promoting that at the SummerSlam, I remember, because I think I got a free T-shirt at home. So
definitely, yeah. So it's FITE, Fight TV. It's an app, but it's also, it's kind of like a Netflix of combat sports. It's heavy on wrestling, but we also have MMA, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. It's just amazing. It's a free app to download. We have pay-per-views. Our free library content is incredible. So I do their social media, I do their on-air presenting and things like that. So, and actually now I just started to do some Fight TV exclusive interviews that are kind of side-by-side split-screen interviews with different talent. I've interviewed Dan Spawn from Hard Knocks MMA in Canada. I just interviewed Adam Cole as the three-time ever ROH champion. He's amazing, one of my favorites too. So, on-air presenting and interviewing for Fight TV and helping with their social media as well is my main job, and it's so cool because it's sort of like, it's wrestling sort of, but it's branching out into other categories as well, and I feel really lucky that I get to still be involved in the business even over here, and I do some shows over here, but nothing too consistent yet.
Yeah. So just to kind of rewind a bit back to Shine. So Shine was all female.
All female.
All female. And I guess in the same way as the smaller guys, the women also don't get often the best bookings that they maybe should, or the best storylines, and it's often they kind of almost fall into the same trap.
Yeah.
So how did it work in Shine? Because obviously if there's only like a handful of belts, you can't have everybody feuding over the same thing. There's going to have to be storylines.
They did have various storylines, and if you haven't looked up Shine, it's really amazing. They had, tag team championships. They had the, Shine Women's Championship, which is the main, prize. Everyone had their eye on that same prize. My storylines were with my California army, if you want to call it that. I kept recruiting girls, and then, some things would go wrong. Daphne had her army at one time that kind of challenged mine. We had some interesting storylines with Sue Young. Sue Young was managing the Premier Athlete brand, and then I made her be my assistant. I had to humiliate her and, accidentally spill water on her and make her do all my little dirty work. So, we did a lot of those kind of things that made it extra special rather than just, straight up matches. So Shine and Evolve, there were some characters that kind of flip-flopped between the two, but at the same time, Shine was all women, as opposed to maybe a male commentator or so. Lenny Leonard is great there. Rob
But generally
Naylor.
speaking, you're putting the spotlight on women's
It's
wrestling.
all women, and they had their own storylines. It was a really cool mix of girls too, because we had like Crazy Mary Dobson, we had So Young, but then we had like the glamorous girls. We had Amber O'Neal and Nevaeh and some of these girls that were more girly. So it was a cool mix of girls. Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of two areas, I guess, that I feel are always underbooked, but when they're done right, you seem to be around them.
Yeah, I try. Yeah. I kind of go where the good stuff is, I guess.
Okay, so you mentioned that you're now over here, which I still think is nuts.
I know.
I did read an article to do with so we're in Milton Keynes, for anybody that doesn't know. I read an article on MK50 that was an interview with yourself.
Yes.
Talking about how you came to be over here. So I guess for the benefit of the listeners, how did this all unfurl, I guess?
Hopefully, if anyone's in this area, they might have already seen Celebrate MK, the magazine. You can look it up at Celebrate MK. It's a magazine that's around this area talking about Milton Keynes, and I was interviewed and subsequently put on the cover because they wanted to know what brought me here. And a few years ago, I was here doing Collectormania, which is sort of like a Comic-Con, but it was Milton Keynes area at the MK Dons Stadium.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, and Steve Linsky, who brought me in to do this autograph signing, said, I have this friend that owns an award-winning restaurant/gastropub. We'll have to go there. And I remember thinking, it's kind of far, it's kind of late, but all right. And we went, and luckily we did go, and I met my now fiance.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you. It's pretty recent, December 7th.
Wow.
I got engaged at Highclere Castle, so Downton Abbey.
Oh, wow.
He's a man after my own heart with the romantic English castles. I was already weeping at the castle, and then they're like, what are you doing? It was just beautiful. Yeah,
cool,
so
awesome.
So we're planning to marry probably early 2018, and but it's great because he'll be able to come with me to Florida to go to WrestleMania and all this stuff.
Awesome.
So he knows a bit about wrestling. He's friends with MVP and some of the wrestlers that have come in to the restaurant before. But of course now he's well versed in it, and he's around all these wrestlers. The other day,
You've taught him
Shane
well.
Douglas. I have.
Yeah.
Shane Douglas was in town, and like all the people that are my friend, they're kind of like, what brought you here? Then they meet Alan, and they're kind of like, oh my God, he's so cool. And I'm like, well, wait, you're my friend. Don't leave me. Shane Douglas and him were like tweeting each other. It was just so funny. So, and I'm not someone who really announces things on a personal.
Of course.
Hey everybody, guess what? I'm just not that kind of a person, and I'm really kind of weird about like personal details. Just because number one, it's not always safe. Number two, it's just who wants to be the person that's like, oh my God, I love my fiance every 2 seconds.
Yes.
I do know some people like that. But I'm very fiercely protective of my personal life. But when it is an engagement, it comes out in a magazine. Of course, that's exciting. If anyone wants to know how happy I am, I'm just radiating rainbows out of my face.
You are. There's rainbows everywhere.
And he's here, and he's so cute, and he did not dress up because I was like, please God, please don't dress up like a wrestler because that would just weird me out.
Yes, and you're living in the MK area.
Yes.
Yeah, and so how do you find it? Because I was born and raised here. I love it here.
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
I love it, and I've been coming to England because my sister lives in London. I've been coming for like 7 or 8 years, and it's odd because people that in wrestling and people that have known me forever, they say like it makes total sense that you're there and you're marrying a British man because all I ever loved was British culture, British history, architecture.
Your British accent is hilarious, by the way. I remember
I can't believe it.
Yeah. It's scary. Like,
I know.
It's just because it's spot on.
It's
spot. Well, did you watch Mary Poppins a lot as a kid?
Yeah, I get called Dick Van Val a lot because I kind of chimney sweep. But in my defense, when Alan pretends to be me, he says, "Hey y'all, it's SoCal Val for Fight TV," as if I'm a cowboy. So like it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love it. I love that I'm close enough to London to pop down and shop and do different London events.
See your sister as well?
Yeah, and see my sister and then the little kiddos. I've got a niece and nephew that are so cute. But yeah, I love that it's near London, but it's not the crazy frenetic pace of London because that would be a little much for me.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
No, my mind is blown that you've moved, and like the weather and things like that, because
it's getting a little much with the cold, but I have to say I've lived in Texas, California, and Florida, only hot places.
Yes.
So to wear like berets and scarves and hats like for function and gloves is super exciting
just
for
fashion.
me. Oh my God, I love it. Yeah. Everyone's like, the weather sucks here. And I'm like, dude, I'm in a beret. I'm twirling in the snow.
It's absolutely awesome. But I'm glad you love it here because I love it here. I say we're closing in on your start time, I guess, for
I'm excited.
Our things here. So,
my big run-in.
Ironically, this is going after the Rumble, but let's get your thoughts on the Rumble so we can maybe listen back and laugh and think, oh, you thought that was going to happen? No.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to tonight?
I'm Goldberg all the way in terms of Rumble.
Yeah.
I think it's his time.
It's
not just because he retweeted me earlier.
Even though you weren't a WCW person growing up.
No, and that's what's so funny is, first of all, I met him and he's really cool. So I met him. Here's a funny story. So I met him and I was like, oh. For some reason, like I was scared to meet him. I don't know why. I guess because
he's an intimidating guy.
I guess, yeah. Like Sting was the same way, and not even being a WCW fan per se. I was a fan of Ready to Rumble though. So that's probably what freaked me out, is because I love that movie. Which is also what we are right now. We're ready to rumble.
We are.
But I was very nervous to meet him, and he came over to my table, and I said, "Oh, nice to meet you." I said, "I was so scared to meet you," and he goes, "I was scared to meet you," and I'm like, "You're funny." He was just immediately very cool and funny. But I just think it's cool because you can see how excited the fans are to have this second run of Goldberg, and I just think it makes the most sense for him right now to be the winner, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I got so much more into the Goldberg fan zone after I was at ICW in Glasgow when this pay-per-view aired, where he beat the guy. Who did he beat? Brock Lesnar, right? In like 2 minutes or something insane. Most exciting thing.
What were your thoughts on that match? I absolutely freaking loved it because of the shock. Everyone else is like shitting all over it, saying, "No, that's real." I loved it.
It's the most memorable thing they've done in a while. It was so brilliant. I was great because I was with like Trent Seven and all like the ICW guys because we had just done our show. I say our show. I didn't do much on it, obviously. I was there with Fight TV, but yeah, it was so cool to watch it with wrestlers and fans because I mean that place went nuts.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it was great. Whoever idea that was, it was genius.
Yeah. I don't get why everyone's crapping all over it.
Some fans just love to hate things, and that sounds exhausting. So I'd rather just appreciate stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So you're over here. You're loving life.
Yeah.
It's all good. Where can we find you on Tinternet?
The interwebs.
Yeah.
On Twitter, that's kind of my main platform. It's at SoCal Valerie.
That's where I got it, really.
Yeah, and in person, now we're Twitter pals. I'll teach you all the ways.
Cool.
In terms of the UK, I'm only going to be here for about another month. In terms of just, I'm leaving for America. I'll be there for a month and coming back. Obviously, I live here, but so my Orlando trip is upcoming. But for February, I will be at What Culture Pro Wrestling in Milton Keynes on February 12th. I'll be there representing Fight TV. Again, check out Fight TV because if you haven't,
where's FITE?
FITE TV on Twitter or Fight.tv is our website.
Cool.
Again, free app to download. But WCPW What Culture is going to be really cool, and the fact that it's in Milton Keynes is really exciting.
I'm a massive ice hockey fan.
Okay.
I don't always talk about that on here because it's wrestling, but
you want to talk about fake sports? Is that what you're saying?
It's not. It's real. It's real to me.
Oh, it's really you, damn it. Yeah.
But no, I'm a massive ice hockey fan, and this season I've had a season ticket at the venue that WCPW are coming to. So it's as soon as I heard it's planning. I mean, I've been watching hockey since I was about 6 in that same arena. So
by the way, you knew that I meant hockey was fake, right? When I said fake sports, I meant hockey.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yes. I now sound like an idiot.
Yes. I don't watch hockey, but I heard that the venue's big and the card is amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no.
Who are you looking forward to seeing?
Well, obviously Kurt Angle I was at Wembley Arena when Kurt Angle was inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. I think that was 2 years yesterday, I think my Facebook told me. It wasn't too long ago.
Was I at that
3
one?
years ago? I hope so.
2014 I was there.
I'm trying to think
I
now.
did one tour after I had left TNA, and it was
all
that. I might have been that
blurs
one.
into one, I think. Was EC3 there when you were there?
I don't know.
So
all blurs to one to me too.
It must have been the year after you left.
It was the year that Spud won the which title did he win? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no, that was the same one. That was because we had Kurt Angle in. Oh no, was it? No, wait a second.
I don't know.
It all blurs into one because it was all so good. Yeah, so Kurt Angle is going to be cool to see him. I think I'm most excited about Ospreay and Ricochet.
It's going to be great, yeah.
It is, but then Ospreay, I haven't met a lot of wrestlers, but he's one that I have met, and I've got a very, very brief interview with him on YouTube, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think
he's amazing.
Drago and the other Lucha Underground guy have just been announced as well.
See, I'm not too well versed in Lucha Underground.
Yeah, same.
It's funny you say Will Ospreay, though. I was just telling somebody how nice he is, but it's I went up to him the last show I did. I think it was Southside, and I was like, I don't know him that well. He was involved for like a little bit, but I was like, "You're amazing."
Oh, he is.
Like, I don't mean to be. I'm like,
yeah,
but can you? I just told you something. You're amazing, and he was like, "Oh my God, thanks." I was like, "No, dude, you are incredible." Like to watch him was just. I mean, he's crazy.
He's going places. He's really going places.
Definitely.
And I think there's the whole card just looks amazing from what I've seen so far. I can't remember the third match that was announced that I went nuts
There's
for as well.
There's a lot of big names.
Yes.
But What Culture is my next event here in the UK, February 12th in Milton Keynes. Beautiful Milton Keynes.
Yes.
And it was celebrating a birthday. It's now 50 years old. Happy birthday, MK. Yeah. And then in America, I'll be leaving on February 26th. I'm in America for about a month. I have the big event NY, which is of course New York, on March 4th. Then around WrestleMania week, I will be doing WrestleCon. The Kevin Nash party is a tradition for me. I usually host a shot challenge for Mr. Nash. Of which last year I said, Nash, we did a shot for you. And he goes, what? Where? Nobody told me. So he's just always, at these parties, he's so funny. So I'll be around all the WrestleMania shenanigans. Literally, that's the name of the party, shenanigans. And then I'm coming back to do Wales Comic Con on April 8th and 9th. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So, and is Alan going with you, or is he staying here?
Alan is coming with me to Orlando, at least for, I believe he's coming to New York, but definitely for WrestleMania week.
Awesome.
So that'll be great.
So you're not going to be apart from him for too long?
I can't be. That's just terrible.
Awesome.
Any sort of shows that I do, it's so funny because when you're single, and when I was a bit younger, it was kind of like I didn't want to be home. I felt very like stifled by being home more than a few days.
Yep.
And now it's sort of like, oh man, I have to go do a show. Like it sucks.
Oh, no.
It doesn't suck, but
you're
it's just
settling down.
I know, but it does happen where you're just sort of like. I love doing shows, and it's good and it's cathartic and it's great to do it, and I do miss it. But then again, like when it's more than like a couple days, I'm like, but. I want to be with my fiance. Like, it sounds so silly. But yay for love.
Fine. Yes. I got engaged almost a year ago to 11 months ago. So,
wow.
Yeah,
Look at us. How cute.
Yes, we're loving life.
We're growing up.
We are.
It's terrifying.
It's scary. In fact, we both turned a certain number last year.
Oh, yeah. Flirty 30.
I wasn't going to say that. I didn't want to say the
proud
number.
Of it.
But,
dude, I feel like when I started, because I started so young in the business, and I've always been the youngest of my family, and I'm always like, oh, little Val, everyone's little sister. I'm thrilled to be 30, dude. I'm thrilled.
I loved it. I kind of felt like you can kind of write off the 20s, and now it's time to be do everything you ever wanted to do, even though it was the same as the day it was before. But
I know.
Yeah.
But my year of turning 30 and getting engaged on that, it's been pretty damn cool. So I think yay for 30.
Same.
Yeah.
It was an awesome. It's been an awesome year for both of us. Cool. Well, it's like about. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been absolutely awesome. You're more than welcome to come back anytime. I mean, you live around the corner now, so yeah. If you ever want to
I can borrow a cup of sugar.
Yes.
Hey neighbor. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm excited for the Rumble now. Here we go.
So there we have it, folks. SoCal Val, an absolute pleasure to sit down and chat with her. Easily my favourite interview of all time ever. So massive thanks to Val for taking the time to sit down and talk to me. Of course, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. It's at Figure4 Radio. Give us a like. Give us a follow on Twitter. I'm now on Twitter as well myself. That's at F4R_Mastermind. I've finally given in and cracked, and I've joined the tweeters of the world. We're on Instagram as well, of course, at Figure4 Radio. Check out our website, which is www.figure4radio.weebly.com. There'll be some sort of blog post from myself eventually on the Royal Rumble, I'm sure. And of course, you can check out all of those posts from last year as well. If you don't already do so, go to iTunes and click subscribe. Give us a rate, give us a review, give us 5 stars. It definitely helps. And of course, we are climbing those Podomatic sports charts. So keep listening on Podomatic, keep listening on Stitcher, on TuneIn Radio Up, on Mixcloud, anywhere you can get your podcast from. Just give Figure 4 Radio a search and we will be there. And of course we are now slowly migrating all of our past content onto YouTube, which is youtube.com/F4TV. If you enjoyed the Rumble podcast from last week, go and find the 2016 Rumble podcast from the year before. Of course, the year that the likes of AJ Styles and Sami Zayn debuted in the Rumble. Watch me lose my shit. Next week, we'll be sitting down. I'll be sitting down with the UK legend that is RJ Singh. So be sure to check that one out next week on Figure 4 Radio. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Figure 4 Radio.